miles from where he died. Most of these stores could well be consumed by us if necessary. I know I saw a tin of jam that had split open, tasted it, and it was actually just as fresh as probably the day it was made. And here the dogs are spanned, obviously. You can imagine them jerking on their chains and being looked after by Dmitry, the dog driver from Russia, who was actually only 19 years of age, incredibly enough. And Scott actually did end up putting quite a lot of faith in his dogs. They were always talking about the dogs in the diary. When would they see the dogs? Because that meant relief to them. One can imagine the hive of activity that this place must have been. Ponting in his darkroom, and Nelson over in that corner, and Wright and Simpson in doing them, Met and Atkinson cutting up bits of pieces over there. And you know, it's just quite extraordinary to think of 25 people in this hut. I don't think it's a disturbing feeling, but we're not actually here on our own. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in people that are rattling around in sheets and frightening people, but I do believe most sincerely that there is preparation going on here, because their spirit comes with us. Those first few months was a metamorphosis from having the ability to switch on a tap on the ship to having to go out and cutting your own snow blocks to make your own water. Everything had to be done in a different way. Everything had to be done slower, more carefully. It was a question of slowing down and working out the easiest and most safe way of doing things.
This was a very dark period for me. I saw things in myself I didn't like, mainly because of the breakdown in my relationship with Rob. I hated his manipulation of people, and I didn't trust a word he said. Without that trust, it would be insane for just the two of us to set out for the pole.
What we have. Oh, looks very good.
Waves breaking over the ship.
Quite nice. It looks like there's quite a lot of contrast. Yeah.
You don't have to stick your fingers on it to point out the frame of it.
No one said it would be easy.
The darkening atmosphere within the hut was reflected outside as the sun set on April the 23rd, heralding 4 months of darkness.
Well, I do wake up and spend most of the day and some of the night at present with a feeling of tension in me. I don't think that it's outright fear, but it's certainly a great respect for the Antarctic. The actual technical challenge of walking to the pole is not a difficult one. It's a matter of putting one's feet one after the other in front of each other. But the problem is, if we break a fuel can, or if we lose something or destroy something vital to our needs, then we are in serious trouble.
Dr. Mike Stroud wakes Gareth early to carry out his medical research into food consumption and metabolic rates.
Okay, Gareth, that's fine. You can take it out now.
Okay.
Okay.
That's really dry air.
Yeah, I thought so. 2 lovely months.
It's revolting.
I was aware of tensions developing between Rob and Roger and Gareth were getting on none too well either. I wondered if after all I might find a place on the polar trip.
Okay.
Right, let's get this back in.
I was becoming quite fed up with all this work and was wishing I could spend more time seeing the Antarctic, but I was feeling more satisfied now. Things were coming together, and I didn't even mind doing these experiments for Mike. My main worry now was the strain of our relationship, Roger and myself, and was worried, were we going to make it through the winter?
Our weekly restocking of the hut, or going to the supermarket as we called it, was 4 to 5 hours of bitter work, even though our provision dumps were clearly marked and only 50 yards away. The restrictive clothing and 3 pairs of gloves made many tasks near impossible, but take the gloves off and your fingers were frostbitten in seconds.
June the 21st, midwinter, and halfway through the expedition. 4 months spent confined to the hut, and another 4 to go until the departure for the pole. So far, things had not run smoothly. The physical struggle with the environment had been matched by the psychological conflict between the expedition members. Roger and Robert constantly clashed, and it looked as if a third person would have to join them on the walk. Gareth had most experience, but at times he irritated them both. Mike was the other alternative. Will they resolve their conflicts on the winter journey to Cape Crozier, when they march through darkness on what Scotsmen described as the worst journey in the world? June the 28th at 8 a.m. Gareth, Roger and Mike set out on the 28-mile trip to Cape Crozier.
We simply didn't have the strength in some cases to continue pulling the sledge ourselves, and it involved 2 or 3 of us actually pulling one sledge a mile or 2 and then going back to pick up the second one and pulling it on. And we had to do this until we got to easier snow conditions.
On some days they barely pulled 2 miles. In the worst conditions imaginable, it was the ultimate test for themselves and their equipment, as well as a reenactment of the journey made by Scott's men to find emperor penguins and their eggs. John remained at the base. So did Robert. He was saving himself for his ultimate goal, the South Pole. In temperatures of minus 50 degrees centigrade, every action was fraught with danger. Even your sweat would turn to ice.
Haywood Base, Haywood Base. I am now a candidate for the Polar Party, and I've now accepted that idea, and I want very, very much to go, and I'd be extremely disappointed if I couldn't go. It means very much to me, and I don't want to damage any relationship that I have with either of the other members, to the point where I felt come October our relationship might be so bad that it demands that one of us not go, because I think it would be unsafe. Anticipate staying here 3 more days at Cape Crozier. We hope to find the emperor penguins.
All of us were irritable. Gareth and Roger in particular were having trouble getting on and talking to one another. It became so bad that I began to believe that they wouldn't be able to function together on the polar trip, and wondered whether I might be going instead.
After 3 days at Cape Crozier, no penguins had been found. Then their call was heard. The 3 explorers felt both amazed and privileged to find these extraordinary creatures. They were the first people to visit the site in winter since Scott's men. And there was no telling what the penguins thought. After 28 days away, the 3 returned to the base, where Robert had given some thought to the choice of the 3rd member of the Polar Party.
The reason I don't think Gareth is right for the pole is that he is inflexible in his ways. I think that his attentiveness to detail is an absolute boon, even on a polar journey, but I don't think that rigidness as far as attentiveness to detail is perhaps the only thing that one needs. Physically I think he's up to it, but I don't think he's mentally up to it. Mike is a confident person. I think that he'll fit in with a team, and I think also that our scientific programme will look far more convincing and will be far more convincing if he is a member of the party. And I believe in my heart of hearts that Gareth Wood is not suitable for the South Pole, and if there is a problem, then I'm afraid I'll have to take steps with Roger to sort the problem out, and it's going to be difficult, it's going to be painful, but it will have to be done.
Yeah. So we're in the cleft stick, I suppose, and if I feel that you're definitely, without doubt, the guy for the job, that then gives us the problem of trying to convince Robert that you're the guy for the job. But at least everybody's got to leave here being convinced the situation is as good as we can make it.
Yeah, I don't think that it would be. I'm fairly convinced of that. And I don't think you can, you know, if we've been here a week or a couple of months or something, then okay, you might be able to say, oh, well, we can sort it out. But the problems are there.
See, one of the problems, Robert, is that I have no idea how you will fit in with any combination of us three. Because you've never done any trips with us. You're the only person of the three who could be going to the pole, who you're the most unknown quantity as far as how things happen out there.
I don't think that you can change particularly rifts between each other, but you can certainly change if there's some enthusiasm and some love in between the people concerned. You can certainly get stuck in and actually go out and do things more than we have. We're now at that stage because of the problem.
That period is drawing to a close. We're now looking at the period where we're actually putting the sledges, we're packing the sledges for the pole. I have a much clearer idea of how the dynamics works between us three, but I've no idea how the dynamics works when you're a part of that group, because it's never happened.
Looking at the results of the Cape Crozier party, I would say that if you were going to go on and be out there from the frame of mind you were at that particular stage, I doubt if it would have been.
Well, no, you're wrong. The results of the Cape Crozier trip was that we actually talked to each other.
By the end, yeah.
The conclusion of that talk then was that you'd never do anything else together again.
Was it?
That was the final line of the argument.
From who?
From both of you.
But I still think that it's insanity for us three to go out knowing the way we are, and I don't think that that's going to change. But as I've said earlier today, that my decision has been made, basing it on 6 months here and seeing how we interact, and the fact that we haven't done, or I haven't done that much with you guys is probably indicative of the way that I feel, and probably the way that you feel about me and the whole situation on the expedition. And that's to me indicative